So in Chapter 4, we really start to add some exciting functions to ArcGIS. You start to really be able to create data and manipulate data and really see the power of a GIS system. So this chapter is going to work through attribute data, attribute tables, fields, summarizing data, and using some SQL queries, I hope. I'll have to take a look and see if that's true, but we're going to assume that it is. So basically, most people are used to thinking about tables in terms of rows and columns, and in ArcGIS we call a row of data a record and a column of data a field. So there's two types of data tables that you'll work with. One is an attribute data table, the other is a standalone. An attribute data table has a shape information field with it, so a point, polygon, or line. And usually in an attribute table, one record is associated with each geographic feature. So if I have an attribute table of states, each record would be one state. If I have counties, each record would be one county. If I have roads, each record would be one segment of a road, and some segments are longer than others. So we'll look at road data later on in the term. If you have an attribute table created in a geodatabase, you will have a unique field called an ID field. A standalone table, however, doesn't have this geographic feature information. It does contain data, and it may have the same number of records and the same column names. It just would not have that attribute field. So here's an example of an attribute table. In the upper left-hand corner, it has a field, and so this is state data, and each record is one polygon for the shape of that state, and then there's data associated or appended to that. And on the bottom right is a standalone table, and you can see I have a field called state and population and the state flower. You're seeing 5 records and 3 columns or 3 rows of fields of data. She's going to have you work through doing some queries on tables in order to select specific information, and I'll show you that in the demo, the other video that will demo this. So let's say you want to do a query on a table, and you want to get all of the states that have a population less than 5 million, or whatever this number is, 5,300,000. So you can do that a couple ways. You can open up the state table and reach the query through the attribute table, or you can go up to selection at the top of ArcMap, choose the layer, and then choose the field and write your query. When you do that, you're going to get the records that meet your query will be selected. So if you open your attribute table, you'll see that. If you don't open your attribute table, you'll see the records or the polygons highlighted in blue. And so now what I have is 34 records were selected out of the 51 total records in the data. So then she'll walk you through joining and relating. Sometimes instead of having huge tables with hundreds and hundreds of fields of information, you can break them up into several tables, or in the demo I'm going to go and get some crime data and join that or append that to a shape feature class that I already have. And this is a way that you can create new map information. So we'll talk about the differences, and Price will work you through the differences between joins and relates. With either process, I need what's called a common field or a key field, and when I do that, I have to look for 2 fields that have the exact data type and the exact matching data. So if I want to join this standalone table with this attribute table on the left, I need to have a common field that I can join them. The name of the field does not have to be the same, but the actual data. And that means it has to be all one capped, the rest uncapped. They have to be the same type of data, whether it's text or integer. Often you'll have a common field that's a name, and that's an easy thing to match, but you may have a number or a unique identifier, and we talked about those a little bit last term. So the unique identifier for this block group in Oregon is starts actually with 41 for the county, and then 141 and 150. So the official name for that block group is 41 for the state, 39 for the county. This is probably the census tract, this is probably the census block, and this is probably the block group. So appended all together, that would make a unique identifier. When we work with joins, one of the issues is to understand the cardinality or the relationship. And so let me go back to this. When we're thinking about joining or relating, one table is your destination table, the other is considered your source table. And the destination table is the table that I want to end up with to be able to map. The source table is the source of my new data. So when we looked at the cardinality, we're looking at here a one-to-one relationship, and the first is the destination, the second is the source. So the relationship here is there is one record in this attribute table to match one record in that attribute table, and so I can join these straight across, and now I have a feature class or a feature data set that has both year population data in it for the states. I can also do a join if the data has a many-to-one cardinality, and this is often used for data labels and descriptive information. So my land use is my destination table, and right, I just had to double check that. And zone code is my source. And so what I want to be able to do is to give a description after each of these zone codes in my land use data. So there are many here that need this one piece of information. And so it works down through that way. Okay. And here's another example of a many-to-one relationship. I want to attach forest to this code F here and here so that I can map it and have a label. I want to join agriculture to that table. Relate lets you associate the data, but you don't actually join that data. And so this is a way that you can sort, look at, search for data, but the relationships have a different cardinality. And in relates, the relationship of the cardinality is 1 in the destination table to many in the source table, or many in the destination table to many in the source table. And if your relationship is that, you cannot join those. So here's an example of a one-to-many relationship. So remember, I'm supposed to take this information and append it to the GIS polygon layer. And so I have one town ID, and there is not a unique number 1 that I can append this to. But as a relate, I could sort all of the January data, or all of the data related to town ID number 1, and collect all that information. So a nice way to think about that, so the destination table has the end geography that you want to map. You may not always want to map it, but that's usually the end goal right now. So if the destination and source are one-to-one, then you'll join. If it's one-to-many, you'll join. If it's many-to-many, you'll relate. And if it's one-to-many, you'll relate. Price is also going to go through the use of statistics and summary functions. The statistics function lets you get information about the total in a column. And so let me go back up to, let me see, where is that query I did earlier? Yeah. So here's my query, and I have 34 selected out of the 51. And if I wanted to click on population, I could do a statistics, and it would give me the statistics for only the selected fields. So let me scroll back down here. And so the selected fields, I had 34 records selected. The total population for all of those 34 records is the sum. It also gives me the smallest population for one of those states and the largest population for one of those states. So this is a really handy feature to get general data about the work you're doing. The price will also walk you through making a graph. The graphs in ArcGIS are, I think, pretty clunky. Sometimes it's easier just to make it in Excel and add it. And if you get summary tables, it's easy to make graphs. She'll also walk you through looking at the different integer types or the field types. And you need to know that when you're going to do a join, you need to know that your data types are the same. You also need to know what kind of field type to use when you want to create a field. She gives you a couple editing tips. One is never edit the shape field or the ID. ArcGIS lets you delete those, and it's a horrible mistake if you do that. One of the things that she's going to have you do is let's see, select by attribute, where the states are equal to that subregion. And this is a way that you can create other summary data tables. So the last piece that she'll work you through is adding XY data. And when we talk about XY data, we're talking long lat. We still write lat long, and we record them lat long, unless you're doing ArcGIS Online, and then they don't do it that way. You need to make sure that your data is in decimal degrees, and you need to make sure that you choose the projection when asked that the data was created in. And usually your XY data is created in WGS 84 for this class, or you may be out collecting data in UTM, and then you would set it for that. So I want to demo adding the XY, changing the projection, and doing some statistics and summarizing.